Hi, I'm Zachary Wilderman, PDGA number 145505. I'm a sub 850 rated disc golfer from Evansville, Indiana, and this is my 2022 In the Bag video. For my bag, I've been trying out the Hand-Eye Mission Rig. I really like this bag because it can hold up to 25 discs comfortably, and it gives me plenty of room for the extra necessities I need for my round, including a large water bottle, plenty of towel space, and some mini marker storage. First, let's talk about putters. For the 2022 season, I'll be putting with 2020 Trilogy Challenge BT Hybrid crowns. I really like the plastic on these crowns. It's soft but not too soft and hard but not too hard. It really gives your thumb a nice place to rest. Additionally, that heavy bead there on the bottom, not bigger than a judge, gives your finger plenty of room to land, gives you a nice guiding point when you're putting. Now let's talk about the other putters in my bag, the approach and driving putters. For approach putters, there are two that I typically use, a BT Soft Maiden and a BT Soft Harp. The Maiden is a great disc that already flew fairly straight out of the box, but as it's been seasoned, it really holds any line I put it on with almost no fade. The Harp, on the other hand, kept its stability for a really long time and is still actually really stable after a few years in the bag. I can really trust it to go to the right or to the left however I'm throwing it. And with both of these, that BT Soft Plastic really helps these stick wherever I throw them. For driving putters, I bag 3 of them. First one I bag is a BT Hybrid EMAC Judge with a McNome stamp on it from Trilogy Talk Disc Golf. This disc is great in the BT Hybrid plastic. It's firm, but not too firm, and gives your hand a lot of grip when holding it with a power grip. It's beaten in to be just under stable, which makes it great for shots where I need it to flip up a little bit and go dead straight, or ride just a little bit to the right on a backhand. Perfect. When I need a little bit more of a fade, I bag a VIP Maiden with an Infinite Disc logo on it. This disc has slowly beaten in over time where it rides pretty straight, just like the EMAC Judge, but it still has that nice fade at the end that makes sure I land to the left on a backhand. This thing sees a lot of use in the woods where I want to make sure I stay out of the right foliage. And when I need to go max over stability, I've got a Huck Lab stamped tournament harp. This thing is pretty beefy for a tournament harp, and just like the approach harp that I have in my bag, this thing goes left or right whenever I need it to. However, unlike the soft harp, this tournament plastic is a lot skippier, so I can usually expect some ground play with it. Now let's talk about the workhorses of my bag, the mid-ranges. Starting with this one, a misprint stamped Octo Fuse. This disc is easily my turnover disc. It goes left to right out of the hand when thrown flat, and it makes more sense on some of those holes where a forehand just doesn't work anymore. Also, if I throw it on a little bit of hyzer on a backhand, I can get it to fly dead straight. Moving up in stability, I have an older run of Lucid EMAC Truth. This thing has been seasoning for 2 years, and it flies dead straight with just a touch of fade at the end. This really gets used a lot on straight holes, or when I need to throw a hyzer that just holds the hyzer the whole way and doesn't really dump any. It gets used a lot. I cannot stress that enough. I also bag a second EMAC Truth, this one an Eric McCabe 2021 Team Series, so that makes this the Lucid X. This one doesn't get thrown as much on backhand, but on forehand I can trust it to come out of my hand flat and finish to the right. It's got a fair amount more fade than the other EMAC Truth, so this comes out when I need to go to the right. If I need to go straight, I just throw the other EMAC Truth. Moving up in stability, I've got a Lucid Verdict with a little bit of sparkle in it and a die from one of our local dyers, Doomsday Disc Dies. Won this on a CTP one tournament and instantly loved it on forehand. I can throw it flat and really put a lot of push behind the throw, and it's still going to finish right. It's not quite as forgiving on maybe a flex shot. And those points I usually need to go up to a fairway driver, but if I'm just looking for an approach that's a little bit longer than the Harp, this thing can really take the torque and run with it. But then if we really need to get serious, I bag a Lucid X Justice. This disc almost never comes out of my bag, but when it does, I need it. Almost never backhand, usually forehand, or if we're being honest, an over-the-top scuba shot. It does not go far at all, but I don't need it to. Usually I'm in the woods and I need to get out. So when I need to do that, we're going to the Justice. Now let's talk about fairway drivers, starting with this one. This is a 2021 August Glory Open VIP Underworld. This disc, much like the EMAC Truth in the mid-ranges, has been in my bag for a long time, and it does not fade anymore. In fact, it really doesn't matter what angle I throw it on a backhand, it's going to go to the right. If I throw it on a lot of hyzer, it'll flip up and may roll over a little bit. If I throw it flat, it's going to roll over into a turnover. If I throw it with anhyzer, I don't know why I would do that, but it would probably be doing something really silly. Much like the Fuse, this gets a lot of use in the woods when I need to go left to right, but forehand is just kind of out of the question. Moving up in stability, I have a hand-eye stamped hybrid evader. I used to throw Mavericks a lot, just for my dead straights, slight turnover shots, and once I got my hands on this hybrid evader, that all changed. This disc turns out of the hand ever so slightly, but has that really nice fade to it. I can really trust it to flip up, but come back. For that reason, it gets used a lot. It's my go-to fairway driver, and I've been able to get a lot of distance from this disc, maybe even more so than my Mavericks. Moving up in stability, I have a misprint stamped Lucid Evader. This disc is a fair amount beefier than the hybrid. It gets used on backhands, but when I do, I really got to make sure I throw it flat so it gets that consistent fade and it just doesn't dump. Also, forehand is a really good choice for this disc. It's kind of like the big brother to the Verdict, where I can put a lot of heat on this on a forehand and it's still going to go to the right and give me a really nice skip at the end. However, if we're really talking beef, we're talking about the Lucid X Evader. For whatever reason, this thing is tooled to be extremely overstable. This thing is comical on my forehand, so much that I have to put it on a lot of anhyzer to get it to even go any sort of distance that's usable. I still haven't quite figured out where to use it yet, but one day I'll figure it out and I will come back and I will tell you. Now, control drivers. My most understable one is a misprint stamped VIP Hatchet. Much like the Fuse, I used to throw this a long time ago, and it was my dead straight disc. Now, it's easily the most understable control driver in my bag. When thrown flat, it's going to the right, and it will continue to go to the right. I can still hyzer flip it, but I've got to put quite a bit of hyzer on it for it to flip to that straight. For that reason, it's starting to lose a little bit of its utility for me. I can see this being a roller disc once I start working on those, but seeing as how I can still hyzer flip it relatively often, it's still got a place in my bag. Which is why I've started bagging a Prime Burst Vandal. It's a little bit beefier off the shelf than a lot of the other Vandals I've thrown, but I'm hoping this will break into a consistently understable disc that I can hyzer flip. I really like throwing control drivers in the woods. I feel like they hold the line. I put them on really well. I just need that disc that I can flip up a little bit or throw flat and it rides to the right just a little bit. And the Hatchet does too much. So this isn't broken in yet, but I'm hoping it will break in by the end of the season and be a go-to driver for me. Moving up, I have a Cxdy Lucid Vandal. This is another one of those older discs in my bag. really glidey, really love throwing this on backhand. It goes very straight, very far. And I don't throw forehand a lot with control drivers. I'll usually go down to a mid-range or up to a distance driver. But throwing this on forehand, if I can get it to come out of my hand flat, it will fly pretty flat for a long time and still give me that finish to the right that I'm looking for. And then, of course, I bag a Felon. It really doesn't need much introduction. It's a Lucid Felon. It's purple, and I love purple, and it goes right on a forehand, and it gets me out of trouble a lot because that's what Felons do. Not a big distance disc for me. I don't need it to be. Like I said, I'll go to a distance driver if I need distance. But on holes where I need a little bit of flex in my forehand, this disc comes out a lot. Now let's talk about distance drivers. I don't throw them very often because I don't have the strongest arm, but I do bag 3 of them, starting with this one, VIP Air Sword. This is easily my bomber disc. I can grip it and rip it on a backhand. It's going to go to the right ever so slightly, still come back to the left. I don't throw it very often on a forehand because the VIP Air plastic's a little too soft for me. But if you're a forehand dominant or a forehand exclusive player, this might be the furthest throwing disc in your bag, so definitely check it out. When I need to actually throw a sword on a forehand, or it's a little bit windier, I bag a VIP sword. This I can't get as much distance on because it is a little bit beefier, but when I throw it on forehand, it goes straight and it finishes to the right. And really, when I need the distance on a forehand, that's all I'm really asking for. And last but not least, my favorite disc in the bag, a Tournament X Erica Stinchcomb sword with a hatchet stamp and a die done by Doomsday Disc Dies. This disc is great. I mean, I love a good sword. This tournament plastic is my favorite plastic ever. It's nice and grippy, but also just a little bit soft. On a forehand, I really feel like I can get a good purchase on it. And it does all my favorite sword things. It goes to the left on the forehand, finishes to the right. You can hyzer flip it a little bit on a backhand, even with my little bit weaker of an arm strength. But I mean, it looks so cool. It's easily my favorite colored disc in my bag. And if you're thinking about a distance driver, definitely check out a sword. Any of the plastics, any of the weights, they're all fantastic. They really help my game. They can probably help yours. That concludes my 2022 in the bag. This is what I'll be using all summer and into the fall and winter. So if you see me out there, say hi, and I'll catch you on the next video.